In the last few minutes, 17 men and 1 woman have been found guilty of sexual exploitation and drugs offences at Newcastle Crown Court. The convictions are in connection to a major police investigation into sexual abuse and grooming over a 4-year period. As part of the operation, police paid a convicted child rapist almost £10,000 to act as an informant. Well, our correspondent Fiona Trott is in Newcastle for us. Fiona.
Simon, there have been 2 years of trials here at Newcastle Crown Court, and of course now those verdicts have finally been returned. We can tell you all about the sexual exploitation that Northumbria Police have uncovered in this city. Between 2010 and 2014, men, predominantly Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi origin, targeted vulnerable girls and women. They invited them to parties, or sessions as they called them, and they gave them drink and drugs. So many drugs that some of these victims couldn't defend themselves, or they became so addicted to MCAT that they would do anything to get more. So just to give you an idea, let me explain the verdicts that have been returned here today. 20-year-old Abdul Sabe, he's a man who was already on the sex offenders register. He was found guilty of conspiracy to traffic for sexual exploitation and drugs offences. The court heard how he gave a girl his flat keys, knowing she was 15 years old. 34-year-old Habiba Rahim has been found guilty of rape, trafficking charges and drugs offences. We heard how he set up one victim, somebody who was walking the streets of Newcastle, and he offered her shelter in his home. He said that she could stay at his house rent-free but only use the back door and not tell anybody that she was there. 37-year-old Badrul Hussain has been found guilty of drugs offences and allowing his home to be used for party sessions. And 44-year-old Mahiba Rahman pleaded guilty to drugs offences and allowing his house to be used for these sessions. But Rahim Sabe and Rahman were also found guilty of conspiracy to incite prostitution. That reflects the planning of this. They worked with other men to groom victims for sex. Now, this is typical of what we've heard in these trials over the past 2 years, but they're just one part of Operation Sanctuary, which has been running since 2013 and still continues today. The 18 people guilty here at Newcastle Crown Court were arrested following a series of raids in the city. Guilty of causing girls and women serious harm. Caught as part of Operation Sanctuary, one of the biggest sexual exploitation investigations in the north of England. One 17-year-old says she was raped at a party session organised by local men. It's a familiar story.
I woke up in the morning, the wardrobe was pushed up against the door.
Her police interview was played to the court. To protect her identity, we've asked actors to read what the jury saw.
He'd had sex with us while I was asleep. Still now, I'm a bit confused about it.
How do you feel when he told you he'd done that to you?
Dirty, confused.
So how many sessions would you say you've been to?
About 60.
22 complainants came forward in this case, and they were from all walks of life. 2 had been in care, 1 had been a college student, and they were all vulnerable in their own way, whether it was their age, 1 was just 14, or they had difficulties at home. Most of them were approached here in the west end of the city. An older man would pull up in an expensive car and offer them drink and drugs, or invite them to a party. This was one party house the police raided. Behind these doors, teenage girls were given as many drugs as they wanted and were victimised by older men.
Well, we'll sort it out at the police station, OK?
For this man, it's Judgment Day. He's on his way to court. Later, he's found guilty of drugs offences.
SIM cards, drugs, computers, cash.
Operation Sanctuary started in 2013. It's been a long and complex investigation. Controversially, officers recruited a convicted child rapist as an informant. He was paid around £10,000.
Look, I get entirely that this is very, very difficult for people. Many people will look at that and say it's morally reprehensible, repugnant that the police would pay somebody in those circumstances, a convicted child sex offender, for information. This is the world we have to enter into, and it's shadowy, it's murky, it is full of risks. What I can say is this: the prize that we are seeking and that we gained in this case is that the information we gathered from that individual has put dangerous men behind bars.
Most of the perpetrators were from Pakistani, Indian and Bangladeshi backgrounds.
I mean, some of these men, they're stuck in their ways. But
This city councillor says leaders from all faiths could re-educate some local men to stop similar exploitation in the future.
people should not be telling the Asian community how to live their lives or what to do. And it's quite important. It's just like saying to the white community that we should be talking about what Jimmy Savile did. We should not do that. However, there's a huge opportunity to talk about these issues on a regular basis of rights of women, and I think it's important to use religion, particularly Islam, to educate some of these people.
7 years after the conspiracies began, those who thought it was acceptable to exploit vulnerable girls and women are now awaiting sentence. Well, that sentencing is due to take place next month. I can tell you, though, that 4 people have already been sentenced. One of them, a man, was jailed for 10 years after he raped a 15-year-old girl. You also heard in that report as well, of course, that some of the victims were in care. One was trafficked from a children's home. Well, a joint serious case review is now being carried out. It involves social services from both Newcastle and Northumberland City Council, and a report is due at the end of this year. In the meantime, let me read you a statement from Jim Hope, who's from the Crown Prosecution Service. He spoke here just a few moments ago. He said these prosecutions would not have been possible without the bravery shown by the victims and the courage they showed in giving their evidence of what happened to them. The impact of the abuse these young women suffered has been profound, but I hope these convictions can offer them some comfort and help them move forward. Simon.
Fiona, thank you very much. We'll have more from Newcastle Crown Court